The Impossible Species. The Grand Archive's discovery. Keeper Zarthan had maintained the Galactic Historical Archive for 12,000 cycles. His species, the Valkyrie, were known throughout the stars as the Keepers of Knowledge, chroniclers of every civilization that had ever reached for the cosmos. In all his time among the endless data streams and historical records, nothing had prepared him for the anomaly he discovered on a quiet morning shift. The report came from an automated survey probe in Sector 449, a region of space considered worthless by every major civilization. Too far from trade routes, too poor in resources, orbiting a yellow dwarf star that was completely unremarkable. The probe had detected something impossible, a species that violated every known rule of technological development. Zarthan pulled up the data with his four-fingered hands, his large eyes widening as he read. The species called themselves humans. They lived on the third planet of their system, a world they named Earth. And according to the probe's analysis, they should not exist. This cannot be accurate, Zarthan muttered, running the calculations again. The numbers remained unchanged, defying everything he knew about evolutionary development. Humans had achieved nuclear technology in less than 10,000 cycles of recorded civilization. They had reached their own moon in less than 12,000 cycles. They had built space stations and explored their solar system in a timeframe that should have been impossible. Most species took 100,000 cycles to develop such technology. The peaceful ones took even longer, building slowly, carefully, with consensus and caution. But humans had done it in a fraction of that time, and they had done it while fighting constant wars with themselves. Zarthan scrolled through the cultural database the probe had compiled. His hands began to tremble. Earth's history was a continuous chain of conflicts. Wars over territory, resources, ideology, religion, even abstract concepts like honor and pride. In the last 1,000 cycles alone, humans had fought 2 global wars that killed hundreds of millions. Yet somehow, between these devastating conflicts, they had also created art, music, literature, and science of extraordinary depth. They had built magnificent cities, then destroyed them, then built them again even larger. They had split the atom and reached for the stars while simultaneously perfecting ways to kill each other more efficiently. They are insane, Zarthan whispered. But he could not stop reading. The probe had intercepted human communications, their entertainment broadcasts, their historical records. Zarthan watched with horrified fascination as humans portrayed their own violence in stories and films. They celebrated warriors, glorified battles, turned their darkest moments into entertainment. But that was not what disturbed him most. What truly unsettled Zarthan was the pattern he recognized in human behavior. They were optimizing for conflict. Every generation learned from previous wars and developed new strategies, new weapons, new tactics. They studied military history with the same dedication other species applied to art and philosophy. Humans had turned warfare into a science. The Council's dismissal. Zarthan brought his findings to the Galactic Council 3 days later. The Council chamber was a marvel of architecture, a massive sphere where representatives from 47 species floated in zero gravity, each in their designated section. Light filtered through crystalline walls, casting rainbow patterns across the assembled delegates. Distinguished members, Zarthan began, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. I have discovered a species that poses a unique challenge to our understanding of technological development. Supreme Chancellor Morvik, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix, pulsed with mild interest. Continue, Keeper. Zarthan displayed the data about humanity. The chamber fell silent as delegates reviewed the information. Then, slowly, dismissive sounds began to ripple through the assembly. A species of primitives, declared Ambassador Felkor of the Drathian Empire. His reptilian features twisted in contempt. They have barely left their own planet. They fight among themselves like children. Why do we waste time discussing them? Because, Zarthan insisted, they have developed faster than any species in recorded history. And they have done so while maintaining extraordinarily high levels of aggression. This combination is unprecedented. which makes them dangerous only to themselves, noted Counselor Yeshma, her tentacles waving dismissively. They will destroy themselves within a few thousand cycles. It is the natural progression for violent species. But what if they do not? Zar then challenged. What if they survive their violent phase? What if they reach the stars while retaining their capacity for warfare? Supreme Chancellor Morvik's glow dimmed slightly, a sign of deep thought. An interesting question, Keeper. But our xenopsychology experts have been clear, no species can advance beyond planetary civilization while maintaining high aggression levels. The resources required for space exploration demand cooperation. Humans will either achieve peace or perish. Those are the only possibilities. I recommend we continue monitoring them, Zar then pressed. Their development speed alone warrants attention. If they do achieve interstellar capability, then we will welcome them as we have welcomed all others, interrupted Morvik. As equals, as partners in the galactic community. But that day is many thousands of cycles away, if it comes at all. We have more pressing matters. The council moved on to other business. Zar then remained in his section, staring at the human data with a growing sense of unease. Earth's quantum leap. The message reached the Galactic Council 18 cycles later. Zar then was in the archive when every communication system in the building activated simultaneously, overriding normal protocols. A human face appeared on the screens. Female, young, with dark skin and intelligent eyes that held both excitement and caution. She wore a uniform of some kind, covered in symbols Zar then's translator identified as military insignia. Greetings to the Galactic Council, the human said in clear galactic standard, a language that should have been completely unknown to them. My name is Commander Amara Osei of the United Earth Space Command. On behalf of humanity, I announce our presence among the stars. Zar then's hands went cold. 18 cycles. Only 18 cycles since his report, and humans were already here. We have achieved faster-than-light travel, Commander Osei continued. We have established our first colony beyond our solar system. And we come seeking peaceful contact with other civilizations. She paused, and something in her expression made Zar then's skin prickle. We are aware that our development has been unconventional. We are aware that our history is violent. We do not apologize for what we are, but we come with open hands and open minds. The transmission provided coordinates for a meeting, then ended. Within hours, the council chamber was in chaos. Emergency sessions were called. Xenopsychology experts were summoned. Military analysts reviewed humanity's technological capabilities with growing alarm. How? Demanded Ambassador Falcor. How did they achieve FTL in 18 cycles? Most species require thousands of cycles of research. The answer came from Dr. HFY, the galaxy's leading expert on technological development. She was a being of liquid metal, her form constantly shifting as she processed information. They did it, she said slowly, because they approached the problem as they approach everything. As a competition. She displayed human records. They did not have one research program. They had 17, each trying to beat the others. Different nations, different corporations, different universities, all racing to be first. They poured enormous resources into parallel development programs. Most failed, but the failures taught them what not to do. The competition accelerated their progress by a factor we have never seen. This is madness, breathed Counselor Yeshma. The waste, the inefficiency. Resulted in success, HFY interrupted. They achieved in 18 cycles what should have taken them 5,000. Because they were willing to fail, to waste resources, to take enormous risks. Because they treated scientific advancement like warfare. Supreme Chancellor Morvik's glow intensified. Keeper Zar then, you were correct to bring this to our attention. We must arrange a formal first contact immediately. But Zar then was reading deeper into the human transmission data, and what he found made his blood freeze. The message had not come from one ship. Humans had sent 73 vessels into space simultaneously. In 18 cycles, they had not just achieved FTL travel. They had built a fleet. Chancellor, Tsar then said quietly, I believe we need to reconsider our assumptions about humanity. What do you mean? Tsar then looked up, his eyes filled with something close to fear. We assumed their violence would prevent their advancement. What if we were wrong? What if their violence is the reason for their advancement? The chamber fell silent as the implications settled over them like a cold blanket. For the first time in galactic history, the Council faced a species that had weaponized progress itself. And humanity was just getting started, the price of underestimation. First contact protocols. The meeting took place in neutral space, exactly halfway between Earth and the nearest Council world. Humanity sent 3 ships to the designated coordinates. The Council sent 12, a show of strength meant to establish the proper hierarchy. They were not prepared for what happened next. When the human vessels arrived, they did not assume submissive positions or maintain respectful distances. Instead, they spread out in a tactical formation that military analysts immediately recognized as a combat spread. The ships themselves were crude compared to Council technology, built with heavy armor and redundant systems rather than elegant efficiency. They look like weapons, Ambassador Felkor observed with distaste as he reviewed the scans. No artistic design, no cultural expression. Just brutal functionality. Commander Osei's ship broadcast a greeting, and she appeared on their screens again, this time with several other humans flanking her. An older man with gray hair and sharp eyes. A woman in scientific robes. A younger man whose military bearing was unmistakable. On behalf of humanity, Osei began, we thank the Council for agreeing to meet. We come seeking friendship, trade, and cultural exchange. Supreme Chancellor Morvik responded with formal courtesy. Humanity is welcome among the stars. We have much to teach you about peaceful coexistence, about the responsibilities of spacefaring civilizations. The older human, introduced as Secretary General Chen, smiled politely. We appreciate your willingness to share knowledge. We also have much to offer. Human innovation, our unique perspectives, our experiences. Your experiences with warfare, Felkor interrupted, unable to contain himself. We have reviewed your history, humans. Thousands of conflicts, billions dead, entire cities destroyed. What could such a violent past possibly teach civilizations that have known peace for millions of cycles? The mood in the human delegation shifted. Commander Osei's expression hardened slightly. It has taught us survival. It has taught us adaptation. It has taught us that the universe does not care about our comfort or safety, so we must care for ourselves. A barbaric philosophy, Felkor said dismissively. Perhaps, agreed the younger military officer, introduced as General Torres. But it is effective. We went from wooden clubs to faster-than-light travel in 12,000 cycles. How long did it take your species, Ambassador? Felkor's scales flushed with anger, but Morvik intervened. This is not a competition. We are here to establish peaceful relations. Of course, Secretary General Chen said smoothly. And we are genuinely eager to learn from species with longer histories. But we also want to be clear about who we are. Humanity will not apologize for our nature. We will not pretend to be something we are not. Dr. HFY, observing from her ship, felt a chill run through her liquid metal form. The humans were not asking for permission to join the galactic community. They were announcing their arrival and daring anyone to object. The revelation. The formal meetings continued for 3 days. Cultural exchanges, technology demonstrations, diplomatic negotiations. On the surface, everything proceeded smoothly. Beneath the surface, tensions built like gathering storm clouds. On the 3rd day, Tsar then made a discovery that changed everything. He had been analyzing human communication patterns, studying the subtext beneath their words. What he found terrified him. The humans were lying. Not about major things, but about small details. They understated their military capabilities. They downplayed their industrial output. They pretended their 3 ships were their entire space fleet when long-range scans suggested at least 40 more vessels positioned throughout nearby systems. Worse, they were studying the council with the intensity of scientists examining laboratory subjects. Every question they asked was designed to probe for information. Every cultural exchange was an intelligence-gathering operation. Tsar then brought his findings to Morvick privately. Chancellor, I believe the humans are preparing for something. Their entire delegation is a reconnaissance mission. Preparing for what? Morvick asked. We have shown them nothing but friendship. They are preparing for the possibility that we are not truly their friends, Tsar then said. They assume deception because they themselves are masters of it. They assume hidden agendas because that is how they think. Morvick's glow dimmed. This is troubling. But what can we do? We cannot condemn them for caution. We can be cautious in return, Tsar then urged. We can recognize that humanity is not like other species we have encountered. They are not grateful children joining a family. They are potential rivals evaluating the competition. Before Morvick could respond, alarms sounded throughout the council fleet. Long-range sensors had detected multiple vessels approaching at high speed. Not human vessels. Drathian warships. Ambassador Felkor had acted without authorization, calling in his empire's military to put the humans in their place. 12 massive Drathian battle cruisers dropped out of FTL, their weapons charged, surrounding the human vessels. Humans, Felkor's voice boomed across all channels, you will submit to inspection. You will provide complete technical specifications of your vessels. You will acknowledge Drathian superiority and accept protectorate status. Refuse, and you will be destroyed. On the human ships, Commander Osei looked at Secretary General Chen. Sir? Chen's face was calm. Follow Protocol Omega. Osei nodded and activated her communication system. Drathian vessels, we decline your demands. We are a sovereign species. We bow to no one. Then you choose death, Felkor snarled. Fire. The Drathian ships unleashed devastating barrages. Plasma beams capable of melting through meters of armor converged on the human vessels. For 3 seconds, space lit up with destructive energy. Then the light faded. The human ships remained, their shields flickering but holding. And they fired back. The impossible victory. What happened next would be studied by military analysts for generations. The human weapons were primitive kinetic accelerators and missile systems that should have been useless against Drathian shields. But humans had done something no council species had ever attempted. They had studied Drathian technology from the first moment of contact. They had analyzed every scan, every energy signature, every frequency. And in 3 days, they had identified a weakness that the Drathians themselves did not know existed. A resonance frequency in their shield generators that could be exploited. Human missiles detonated in precise patterns, their explosions tuned to that exact frequency. Drathian shields collapsed. Kinetic weapons punched through armor. And within 90 seconds, 3 Drathian warships were crippled and drifting. Cease fire. Morvick commanded desperately. All ships, cease fire. The human vessels stopped immediately, but they did not lower their weapons. Commander Osei's voice was ice cold. We came in peace. We offered friendship. Your response was aggression. Remember this moment, Ambassador Felkor. Remember what it costs to underestimate humanity. Felkor's ship retreated, the remaining Drathian vessels covering their withdrawal. The council delegation sat in stunned silence. Impossible, Dr. Keshvier whispered. They identified and exploited a shield weakness in 72 hours. That should have taken cycles of research. Tsar then understood now. This was what made humans dangerous. Not their violence, not their weapons, but their ability to learn, adapt, and overcome at terrifying speed. They did not need to be stronger. They just needed to be smarter, faster, more ruthless in their problem-solving. Secretary General Chen's face appeared on the council screens. Chancellor Morvick, we still desire peaceful relations with the council. But let there be no misunderstandings. Humanity will defend itself. We have survived ice ages, plagues, and our own worst impulses. We will not be intimidated by those who think age equals superiority. He paused, letting his words sink in. We offer the council a choice. Accept us as equals, as partners, as friends. Or leave us alone. But do not make the mistake of thinking you can control us. That mistake has consequences. Morvik's response was slow, measured. Humanity has proven its capability. The council accepts your sovereignty. We would welcome you as members, as equals. Chen smiled. Then let us begin again. With honesty this time, on both sides. The meeting ended. As the human ships departed, Zar then stood in the observation deck, watching them go. They had come seeking acceptance and left having demanded respect. They had faced overwhelming force and emerged victorious through pure cunning and adaptability. We have made either powerful allies or terrifying enemies, Morvik said quietly, joining him at the window. Perhaps both, Zar then replied. That is the nature of humanity. They are contradictions embodied. Violent yet creative. Aggressive yet capable of profound compassion. Short-lived yet thinking in terms of generations. Can the galaxy coexist with such a species? Zar then considered the question carefully. I think the better question is, can the galaxy afford not to? Because whether we like it or not, humanity has arrived. And they will reshape everything they touch. As if to prove his point, human broadcasts began reaching council worlds within weeks. Music, art, literature, philosophy, all flooding into galactic culture like a dam had broken. Some species embraced it eagerly. Others recoiled in horror. But none could ignore it. The age of humanity had begun. And the galaxy would never be the same.